Tell you a story? You got your bottle cap? Well, what story do you want? What are the parameters of your story? Hello, baby. What is it?
President of the Screen Actors Guild. How much fun was that?
What's that?
President of the Screen Actors Guild. How much fun was that?
That was a crock. You get all those animals who are actors, you know, and it's the worst zoo in the world. And everybody's got his own pet project and pet desire and pet resentment. So you got a lot of egos to satisfy. But it was a very great learning experience. And I regret to say that the union went in a different direction in recent years. And I don't know what will happen to it. But it's not of my choosing.
I want to say that for the other panels, people line up over here and use this mic to ask questions. So I want to invite everybody to line up over here since you don't have someone assisting you. My name is Rosie. I'm going to take a picture with you later.
Okay.
Big fan of yours.
What are you going to be wearing?
I'm wearing a blue top. Is that okay?
Can you, what about some shorter shorts?
I'll wear shorter shorts. I just saw you on The Glaze, and I loved your work every time you pop up. What else can we find you in? What else are you looking forward to doing?
Well, I just came back from Argentina, and I did a Disney International picture down there called The Games Maker. And it's a little bit like Harry, what's his name?
Potter?
Potter, yeah. He must have changed his name. And it's a fantastical movie in a way. And it's about a grandfather who is the chief games maker in this fictional town. We don't know where. About the 1930s. And his son doesn't care about, it's a long family line of making games in this town, which is known as the Great Games Maker Town. And his son doesn't want to waste his time on games. So the father, me, and the son have differences. They stop speaking to each other. And in the meantime, an orphan child raised in the town begins to take over all of the influence and is driving the town into ill repute. And finally, I am born to the son, and I have the talent for making games. And we're all split up. I end up in a school called the Possum School, which is slowly sinking into the ground, and all kinds of terrible things. Terrible people. Finally, I'm reunited with my grandfather, and my mother, my son and his wife have been lost in a hot air balloon. So nobody knows if they're alive or not. Find out that they're being kept by the villain of the piece. It's a good, wonderful thing. All we need is Tonto.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Rose. Don't forget the shorts.
All right.
Hello, Mr. Asner.
Yeah.
Yeah, big fan since Mary Tyler Moore. I just recently learned
Who?
about Mary Tyler. I just recently learned about your political political activism, and I'm all ears on this. I'd like to know what you think we should do about the NSA.
The NSA?
Yeah.
Well, I think the NSA has controlled us. I just got an email, I didn't mean to make this political, I just got an email that laying out fully how in Jimmy Carter's re-election campaign, the certain elements of the CIA, rogue elements, and George H.W. Bush and Ronald Reagan controlled it, as we all thought at the time. It's called the October Surprise. The Iranians held on to the hostages by an agreement with the CIA and the Republicans till Reagan got elected, and it doomed Carter's re-election. That's all. If it wasn't NSA at the time, it certainly is now. I think if we're letting our country being taken from us, I think. Now, there are people on the right who say it was taken a long time ago by the liberals. And of course, the liberals say that now the NSA and such creatures, the corporate powers, are taking away the government that we thought we had. So I think until something happens to goose the 99%, we are going to be controlled by the NSA and such powers. What do you think?
I'm not ready to take up arms, but I am ready to tell everybody that this is a problem. No matter where your patriotism lies, this is something that affects you. I don't know what to do from this point besides spreading the word that you're actually being watched right now.
Well, we had dreams and hopes and elected Barack Obama, who we thought would make things differently. I don't believe he has. I don't believe he will. He's made a certain stab a little to the left with the health plan. That's it. Jobs weren't created. Corporations still control our daily lives. And until we can find a government who will control corporations. I mean, for instance, I just read what city is it? Oh, DC. The city council passed a law there, which, if the mayor signs, would raise the minimum wage for workers to $12 and something. $12 an hour is not going to make you a rich man. Walmart, on the cusp of opening 3 stores in DC, says if they pass that minimum wage law, they won't build the stores. So you either get a job with $12.80 or you get no jobs. So that's how they control us. That's how the people are controlled. And until the people rise up and say $12.80 is a just figure in this day, oh, you scared me. $12.80 is a just figure in this day and age. But I'm sure it's all been figured out mathematically. Then starvation wages will be the norm for the American working person.
So goose the American public?
Huh?
Goose? So we need to goose the 99% somehow.
Well, but nothing sways the 99% because we're all dictated by greed. And if we got our job and we're happy with the $8 or the $10 an hour, I'm not speaking of myself. But if that's what you want, fine. If that's what you want, then it will be a corporation-controlled economy, and that American free enterprise is, as they say, free to the man who owns one.
DIY. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? The show The Boondocks, are you continuing with it? And
Which one, Boondocks?
Boondocks?
Yeah, but they never hire me. They've had enough of the white villain, the corporation man.
That's right, Mr. Wensler. Have you ever been troubled by the very coarse dialogue or criticized about it?
No,
Never.
nothing to my knowledge. I think it's a lot of fun. I think Aaron Magruder, I loved him in print. I thought he had a great strip going in print, and I think he's done a fantastic job of getting it into animation. I like being a part of it, but well, if it doesn't come my way, fine. Just hope he keeps on doing the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you briefly tell me what was it like?
No, I can't be brief.
What your experience was like working on Gargoyles, because that's been one of my all-time
Well,
favorites.
Gargoyles was a wonderful trip. I was with a wonderful director, Jamie, and some of the best voice actors. I always felt self-conscious about my Scottish accent, and I never felt really good at it.
To your credit, you were the only one who actually was Scottish out of everybody on that clan. That was supposed to be Scottish. Like, you actually were the only one who actually attempted to be Scottish.
Yeah.
Everybody else on that clan was just, hi, I'm Keith David, hi, I'm Jeff Bennett.
Bronx or this or that. But it was an entertaining show, I thought. I liked it.
Good.
And I'm glad you did.
Oh, I love it. And then, just for fun, could you do a line in Hudson's voice?
What is it you would have me say?
Thank you.
Hi, Dal.
I really enjoyed the movie Moon Over Parador. Can you hear me okay? The movie,
Stand a little away from the microphone. I think it's getting crowded.
sorry. I really enjoyed the movie Moon Over Parador.
Oh, God.
And I know you were just a brief cameo. Which
Yeah, Paul Mazursky, who turned me down for a bigger job many years before that. But I continued to survive. So along comes this movie, which I thought was a cute movie. And I was willing to be a goat in it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
I was going to say you've been a terrific inspiration for myself personally. I have two questions. First one's really quick.
Well,
Would
then
you like to
what?
go get a snow cone?
What's that?
Would you like to go get a snow cone?
Wasn't that a beautiful series?
Absolutely.
I know no series has piqued my interest like Freakazoids. I go in there to see what kind of craziness he was indulging in this time. And I was surprised and disappointed that it didn't go on longer.
The other question is, both for myself and for a number of my friends who are interested in voice acting professionally. Do you have any advice for someone trying to break into the industry?
No extreme is too great.
I think we can work with that. Thank you.
Yeah, stretch yourself out every inch of the way. Yes, dear. Oh, come on. Spit it out.
I grew up with your work. It's meant a lot to me. My father happened to have a strong resemblance to you, and I just love
I resemble everybody's father, except the thin ones.
You did a a made-for-TV movie called The Gathering,
Yeah.
which has been a part of my Christmas. It's just my whole life. And my two questions for you. One was if you could talk a little bit about your experience of making that, and a little bit about your experience with the character of making Up. I felt like those two characters were very, their heart was very similar. They both came from a very, very blocked place, and they transformed through it. And I just felt like that was kind of a theme, even with Mary Tyler Moore, with characters that you've done. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, but particularly about the project.
How much time we got? Well, I was delighted to, I had a choice at the time The Gathering came up. There was a Christmas story that was The Gathering, which was a rich family. And then there was a Christmas story which involved a poor family. And guess which one I picked? The Gathering was written by James Poe, a descendant of Edgar Allan. And I liked the feel of it. So I automatically chose it, and they cast it with great actors. Every actor was if not at that time, was to become a name on his own. And I love the story. I love working with Maureen, and I love the story. I love the reuniting of a father with his son. I love the tradition that it emphasized. I love the joy of the holiday. And until Elf came along, I felt it had to be the best Christmas movie you could ever But and I was thrilled because we start off right on the beginning with John Randolph, who played my doctor. No, not my doctor. Jimmy Karen played the doctor. John Randolph was my lawyer. And I was telling him about, and I thought that was, I was not happy with the way I did that scene. It was done by the waterfalls. Those falls, Chagrin Falls, which is in Ohio, is where Tim Conway comes from. And he and his family have the pride and declare that they were the only Democrats in the town. So he liked to brag about that. I loved the way it turned out. My kids were in the choir that sang on the lawn in that movie, and they were little toddlers at the time. Where's my son? Matthew? Oh, he's hiding, is he? No, he grew tall. So he was in that chorus as well. And I just had a marvelous time. Rebecca Balding was in it. I can't remember the names right offhand, but every one of those people was my eldest son, Lawrence, what is his name?
I'm terrible with names too, right? Help you out.
I just saw him in a Law and Order. He was brilliant. It was an old repeat. I don't know what, but it was the best acting I've ever seen him do. He was wonderful. So he really turned into something special. The kid from Trapper John, who was an ace high school catcher, had legs like, we did the celebrity network superstars. And we got cheated there. What's his name? Bob Conrad's team cheated. George Brett was the umpire, and he let them go into the water and didn't penalize them. So that we were cheated out of winning. Dick Van Dyke came in third. Dickie Van Patten, his team, NBC. We were CBS, and we had a very good team. But unfortunately, we were screwed. So then from there, we went to, what was the second part of it?
My next question was about Up, the character. Did you see similarities between that character and the character that you played in Gathering?
Well, there's a transformation that takes place in Adam Thornton before he dies, which is a nice time to have a transformation. Not that it'll gain you any ground in heaven. But I loved Up because it was a double love story. He had Ellie in the beginning, and then in the end, he comes to love a child. And after resenting that child for so long, to finally accept him and believe in him and have them trust and love each other, I thought that was the most beautiful thing in the world. Because I hate kids. I hate kids because if you saw my grandkids, you would understand why I hate them. I struggled very mightily raising my 4 kids, and I thought I did a good job until I saw what kind of kids they turned. It's really a mess. It's a terrible, terrible mess. So I love both films. Both are noteworthy in my resume, of course. But I'm so proud of Up. I'm just so proud of Up. And I did about maybe 8 sessions, maybe 10 sessions. And I never saw what it looked like until I saw the final product. I received a compliment halfway through the recording sessions, which was that the animators were very pleased with the selections I was giving them. So that made me happy. But I was intrigued by when the producer, Pete Docter, the animator, chief animator, director, showed me a little clip of where the girl comes into Carl's bedroom to get him to. She, with all of her tomboyish qualities. And he's sitting there with his big glasses, looking, and he's thunderstruck by this work of art. And the girl that Pete had playing the voice, she stole my heart. I loved her. I didn't care about me. I said, you've got to get her. Who is that? Who is that? Who is that girl? And he got my daughter. Oh my God. Well, you've got to have her do that. You've got to have her do that. And he did. He finally did. She did a wonderful. On a 6th session, the sound room at, where have you been? You should have seen what a little brat he was. He's a big help now, but he wasn't worth a damn.
Things change. Things change.
Think who?
You'd be lost without me.
Give me a break. About the 6th session, and each session lasted about 6 to 8 hours. And they give me the script, and I'd read it. Pete, the other director would say, try it this way, try it that way, try it. So on the sixth one, the sound booth at Disney had a little rise in it, about that high, and it had lights on it. But we came rushing back after lunch, and I ate a big lunch. And I saw the lights, but I didn't lift my leg high enough. And I hit it, and I went crashing into a corner of the wall, which was shielded with iron. So I cracked the back of my head open. Dude! And I lay in a pool of blood for a minute or two, and then realized I needed to get some help. Took me to St. Joe's Hospital, and they put in 6 staples. And I came back and we did the day, and that was the most noteworthy recording session. No. The first 2 times I saw it was in 3D, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It was too dark for me. And fortunately, they didn't have 3D the third time. And finally, also, I was finally able to relax. And with that third time, I realized what a winner we had. And the kid is a story all by himself. They were testing hundreds of kids. So this Asian kid was brought in, and Pete didn't want him, and he saw his little brother there. He said, "What about him?" He said, "Oh, he's not an actor." He said, "Well, let's hear how he sounds." So I guess he read something. He never acted. And Pete Doctor, in every session, pulled every line out of Russell. So as marvelous as that kid is, it was all, created. Just created. A wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My dad's last Christmas, I gave him a telescope.
What?
For my dad's last Christmas, I gave him a telescope. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, so first I wanted to compliment you on your performance in Up. It's just very well done. Really enjoyed it. Is the microphone working?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's just shy.
Okay, 2 questions. The first one is, which scene in Up did you really enjoy doing the most? And the second one is, do you feel the scene with Carl and Ellie growing up throughout the years was one of the most emotional scenes of the movie? Because every person who I talked to about that scene has cried at least once.
I don't know how many movies have had such tearjerkers as that one.
Oh, yeah.
But, and so early in the film, where do we go from here? So to have that happen, I was very impressed, very impressed. And as I said, it's a double love story. So to go from that point, let's call it the abyss, the death of the wife that makes him run. And then to slowly, over the years, build up, and taking their time doing it. Taking the time, taking the irritation of Russell, all of that. I just loved every minute. And you have to realize, I was only given a few pages at a time. I did not have the time to see, where is Carl down here? I had none of that. So, I don't have a favorite scene. I would say, when we got into the rich man's power, and we're at the dinner table, and Russell was busy eating everything in sight. I had a lot of fun there. Even the dogs were fun. and who can, I can't even remember the name of the dog. What was it?
Doug.
Huh? Doug. And of course, oh my God. Does your dog bite? No. I'll let you do the biting. Lovely to see you. There was so I only had a few pages at a time. So really no great groundswell of working up to a scene. It was all up. I hate to tell you that. It was like making a watch. A line here, a line there, a line there. But I was delighted that the animators sent back word that they were delighted they had so much to choose from. And I'll settle for that. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, first of all. Really appreciate it.
Well, what time is dinner?
We're at 6. I just wanted to ask, is voice acting your fountain of youth? And if not, what is it so that I can have some of it?
I love acting. And I don't need a costume. I don't need to shave. I don't need deodorant. But I've done books. I love to lose myself in the narration of books. No, I started out in radio in high school, and I never thought I'd be an actor. And any work of make-believe, to me, is the most gratifying thing in the world. Do you want to make a love scene? Dinner. I eat it all the time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi. In Freakazoid, I was wondering how much of that was scripted and how much of that was improvised?
It was all scripted.
It was all scripted?
All scripted. Yeah, and I kind of blundered. I didn't know where I was going with that character. But the director certainly knew, and he just wanted that flat voice delivery. You want a milkshake? It was so crazy. I don't think I ever regained my balance. I was always off balance in that show. What else did you want to know?
Did you ever record in the studio with another actor at the same time, or were you always recording?
Yeah, I think the kid who played Freakazoid, what was his name?
Paul Brown.
Was he the creator too?
Yes, he had a large portion of it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I regarded him as an idiot savant. And I knew that it was a special trip I was on, and I just wanted to travel with it. And I was delighted at the twists and turns. I mean, I don't think any animated show ever embodied the zigs and zags of the illustration as well as that did.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't remember working with you.
Can you tell us about your experience working on the 2 Knights of the Old Republic games, voicing the grouchy Jedi Master Rook Lamar?
I missed some of that.
Can you tell us about your experience working on the 2 Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic games, voicing the Jedi Master Rook Lamar?
I did? All I remember is doing on Star Wars was Jabba the Hutt, which was all done electronically. And who was this guy?
He's a very grouchy Jedi Master that is one of your trainers in the game, and he doesn't like you. And always going on.
He doesn't like you or he doesn't like me?
He doesn't like to play your character. He's always going on about the evils of the dark side and thinks you're just, doomed to do bad things and doesn't think you should be trained, etc.
I must have been drunk. How did I do? Is it a good performance?
Those two games.
Maybe I was having hot flashes.
Those two Star Wars games are widely accepted to be among the best Star Wars games ever made.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not on that long, am I?
You're a pretty significant character.
I can know that. I'm going to get this game. See who I am. It's Star Wars what?
Knights of the Old Republic. It's set 3,000 years before, 4,000 years before the movies.
Where can I get it? You don't have a copy with you.
If you have a copy with me, I'll loan it to you.
You will? Hey. It was worth the trip. Thank you.
If you could tell us a little bit about making Lou Grant the newspaper business, and do you think such a series could be made now and how it would be different? You had a great cast, so.
It wouldn't be made now because you've got the Aaron Sorkin show, which is broadcast journalism. And I think that in its immensity and in its progressive challenge occupies whatever territory Lou Grant would. When we started with Lou Grant, we didn't even have, what do you call those things?
Computers?
Computers. We didn't have computers. We made a change, I think, either the first year or the second year. We had one photographer, we had two reporters, we had a lot of bosses, but it had the best cast you'll ever find in a TV show, no matter what it is. I think that one of the mainstays of Lou Grant was that they worked very hard at creating both sides of the problem. And though they did lean heavily on the side we were opposed to, they still gave it some credence. And I'll never forget the finest actress in America, bar none, Nancy Marchand. We had it was the episode in which they hire an efficiency expert to improve the aspect of the paper. And of course, old-fashioned Lou and the efficiency expert are butting heads all the way through. They're doing better than we are. But finally, we get to the end of the show where I made it known, and I guess the efficiency expert has kind of made it known, it's him or me. And we go into Mrs. Pynchon's office, and she has a speech. So first we film the master. And she gives this speech in the master. Now when she's giving the speech in the master, where she decides, the way the speech is written, you can almost tell by the second line who she's going to choose. And, you know, and I realized what a great actress can do actor can do. As I watched the scene, she did it fine for the master. Then the more she did it, first there was a two-shot. Her and either the other guy or me. Then an over the shoulder. And each time it was getting better and better and better. So that by the time she finished her close-up, you couldn't tell until she got to the end of the speech who she was going to pick. And I thought, that is great acting. Because she'd been crippled by the writing.
First, I want to thank you for being who you are.
Good girl. You figured it out by yourself.
Anyway, thank you for being who you are no matter what role you play.
Thank you.
Because you are Ed Asner no matter who you are.
Thank you.
Secondly, I would like to ask you a favor. It's time for another film of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol.
I'm losing you.
It's time for another film of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
Of what?
Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol by Charles
No,
Dickens.
no, you've got Elf.
No.
Elf is a definitive Christmas film. I can't do that.
Scrooge for me, sometime in the next few years.
Well, you let them come up with it and I'll do it.
Let's go hunt.
All right. Thank you, darling. Hiya.
I'm really curious. What led to you voicing Grainy Goodness for DC?
I've always wanted to be a transvestite. I should say a transsexual. But isn't that an exciting creature? I love the perversity. It's so wonderfully perverse. And then each time I go in, I have to say, how did I do her the last time? I can't recall. And then they play a little of the sound, and I finally adjust to where I am with her. But I think that's a marvelous Auntie Mame with chains.
Did you audition, or did they approach you and say, we think you'd be just fantastic for this?
No, they just cast me. I don't audition anymore. I don't remember if I ever did. I'll tell you something, though. A very weird thing. I was submitted, along with hundreds of other people, for Carl in Up. They got the tape. I didn't know anything about it. Forget it. But evidently, along the way, the Pete Doctor and his co-producer decided they wanted to investigate me more. So I was doing a reading of a one-man show, about an hour and a half long, in Alameda County. And it was a show about a survivor who is going through, what is the absence of mind that I have now?
Alzheimer's?
Huh?
Alzheimer's?
Dementia. Dementia. And it is a fantastic show, great show, but in sheer horror and tragedy. Well, Pete Doctor and his partner came up to Alameda, well, they were nearby in the Pixar headquarters. And they decided to check me out on this reading. Now, it's the furthest thing from Carl you would ever hope to find, expect to find. But they saw that and they said, that's what nailed it. Seeing me do that performance. So, I'm lucky. I'm good, but I'm lucky. Thank you. Hi.
I'd like to say thank you for coming, and I would also like to say, well, again, thanks for coming. I've been a fan of yours.
Say it again. I'm very glad to be here. Are you glad I'm here?
For many years, and of course, I believe I speak for all of us here when I say that I hope that you spend many more years doing it.
Me too.
Looking back on all the, the body of work that you've accumulated up to this date, would you mind sharing with us one of your fondest memories? I'm sure you've got to have a few floating around in there.
Well, the first year of Mary Tyler Moore was, before we opened, it was Problem Village. We didn't know if we could last or not. One of the vice presidents of CBS, when he found out I was cast as Lou Grant, said, wonderful actor, can't do comedy. Oh. Not a laugh. And so we had problems like that. I guess the first show was being directed, and Mike Dan, one of the big officials of CBS, was leaving the network offices, and he passed Grant Tinker, our executive producer. And as he passed them, referring to Alan Burns and Jim Brooks, our producer-writers, he said, get rid of these schmucks. And he didn't do it. We opened with the show, and they decided, first we did a test scene for the advertisers, long before the show was even filmed. And that was shown around the country. Well, the producers would like to buy up every print because they thought it was so god-awful. We did it in a low-ceiling room at a crappy studio. It was horrible. But it's only because their sensitivities were brought to such a height eventually that they cringe at what it began as, but it's still a good scene. I saw it, and it's still a good scene. So then it was decided that we would do a performance before 300 people on tape. And we prepared for the show, and we did it. And it didn't get many laughs. And Mary burst into tears at the way the show went. Grant's message to the producers was, fix it. Well, nobody knew what was wrong with the show, but Marge Mullen, our script supervisor, just happened to mention that Lisa, Cloris Leachman's daughter in the show, seemed to be fond of Rhoda, and that if Lisa said something complimentary maybe about Rhoda, it would lighten the sting of what was alienating the audience about Rhoda. So they did that, just as one-liner. We went out there to do the show, and we were, well, Ted and Gavin were my buddies at that time, And they were worried, were worried. And I thought, hey, I don't give a damn. If I can do this character in a show this good, whether it's continued or not, I don't care. This is magic. I love it. I love it. So we did the show. We started off doing the show. And the first scene was Mary coming into my office to be hired. And the scene was going well. And we got to the line where she gives me a delayed answer to a previous question. And I said, you know what? You got spunk. And she toes the floor. I hate spunk. So that audience, everything just worked perfectly. Micro measured to the nth degree. And she did it just perfectly. I did it just perfectly. And when I said, I hate spunk, that audience of 300 people went, "Ah!" I mean, like one huge one. And I felt on stage at the time that I could tell those 300 people to jump off a cliff. And they would do it. That's the kind of power I felt. So the show just sailed after that scene. Every scene worked perfectly. We were a smash. We were originally designed to go opposite Mod Squad on Tuesday nights. So, and every CBS executive except Ethel Wynant, in charge of casting, is the only one who believed in us. So Fred Silverman was the vice president of CBS.